Hey everyone, today going through one of the matches from the 5k super jackpot from the Vegas tournament, which is happening now, and I think the 5k event is finished, and we had some really good players in, like Michi, Mochi, Matt Kongaya, whose match I'm going to review today, or one of his matches, and maybe I think Bob Wachtel played and Steve Sachs. And then in this match, what's interesting is we have a player whose name I'd not heard before, Danny Lovell. So we're just going to see how well he plays, but in general we're going to look fairly deeply into some of the plays if the opportunity arises. I haven't seen the match, so I'm just coming at it afresh. So let's click on play. Hopefully I've got all my settings right. You can see the board. And there we go. Can't hear anything. Why is that? Oh, no, I can. Good. We need our sound. So the great thing about this format is I can pause it. So just noticing from the way Danny even moves the checkers, maybe if I was playing him I would be slightly emboldened by that. Not completely fluent in his movement, but 3-1-3-4-6-3 I think is all pretty self-explanatory. 5-6 is going to fan, and now he's not even, I'm pausing the video, he's not even stopping, but this is, for an experienced player, this is a clear stop and a consider. And it seems like a reasonable double. After stopping to consider, it seems like if you make the 4 point with a 2 or a 4 or a 9, and if your opponent comes in, let's say, with a number that doesn't anchor, then it could be a situation after which your opponent won't be able to take the cube. That's not even an extreme situation. So for example, an extreme situation is where, you know, you cover this guy here and then your opponent fans, and I would say that that's a pretty clear market losing sequence. So when we can just have some insight into the fact that the next go our opponent might not be able to take the cube, then that makes it easier for us to be able to actually cube a position. But in order to be able to go through this, you need to be able to stop and at least have some impulse in you that wants to stop cubing, so stop from rolling and actually cubing. So Danny just doesn't stop. Okay, I didn't even see it. So what should he actually do here? What should he do? Okay, so there's a there's a blot on the ace point. We just go back, and he rolls a 5-3 here. So the problem, this kind of something about this decision seems a bit trivial to me. I don't know what it is, but the problem with hitting on the 16, of course, is just the fact that you get hit back, and therefore that the hitting on the ace point, the pointing on the ace point solves that problem completely, for the loss of not having immediately hit that checker. And then of course what you've got to factor in is how bad it is, I suppose, to get hit on the 4 point if you do play 24-16, and I would say it's quite bad. So I think, just thinking it through, running the cogs running through my brain now, I'm in favor of just giving up on the blot on the 16 for the moment and just playing clean and making the ace point. That's what I would go for. So if anyone's just joining, I think someone's just joined, I'm just going through, we've had some really beautiful commentary from Bob Wachtel, from Phil Simborg. So I've picked a match that no one has, wasn't commentated, played a couple of days ago between Matt Kongaya, who's at the top, and Danny Lovell at the bottom, and I think they had 12 players that each stuck in $5,000. And what's interesting is that we have a guy here called Danny Lovell who we've never seen before, and we're just wondering how well he plays. And now we've got a 5-3 to play. So anyway, without repeating too much what I said, I think I'm going to try not to get hit back on the 4 point. Therefore, I'm going to go for a clean position and say that I can make some improvements later and possibly still pick up this man anyway. Perhaps it's an obvious play, I don't know. After the game, I'm going to try and transcribe it. So just remember what we had. And here's the 5-3. So he kind of, there's no real thought. You can see when a player is a bit inexperienced in that the way he placed his hand back and forth from the checker on the 4 point to the checker on the 24 point, the speed with which he did it suggests that he's not moving into a cogent thought process. But in any case, however he comes to the decision, I would do this. Puts two men in the air. So we wouldn't have been hit back. And now, almost forgetting myself that as grey, or whatever that colour is, teal, Danny still hasn't doubled. So at the point where there are two men in the air, and then even at that point, let's say Danny just completely forgot about the cube, he should be thinking about cubing even just as Matt is rolling his dice, and whether or not he actually cubes is a different matter. But let's just look at the actual cube decision now. So difficult to even say whether it's stronger or it seems weaker than the last position, but I'm not exactly sure why that is. But obviously Matt has one checker in the air. We can hit with a 3 or a 5. We've got a 3-point board. So even just looking at it for a few seconds makes me a little bit surer about what we should be doing, and that we should probably cube. If we hit on the 3-point and he doesn't hit back and fails to roll a double 2 or double 4, then I think he's going to be passing next go. Anyway, I think we've already kind of guessed by now that Danny's not like a killer player. Anyway, he rolls a 2-1 and he's going to play hitting, which is clearly right. 5-4, and the way he's even just picking up the dice, if I had to bet on whether he's going to cube now, I mean, it's so strong now that I wouldn't be 100% certain he's not going to cube, but just the way he picked up the dice is, yeah, he's not even thinking. So he doesn't cube, he has a 3-1 to play. Reese is with us. Reese says hi. Hey Reese. 3-1 is pretty obvious, a little bit awkward. He's going to hit on the 4-point because there's nothing better to do unless he wanted to clear the 6-point, but I don't think he's going to do that. So again, just no time dedicated to doubling. That's a kind of a thing that, okay, splits, and maybe this is okay. I'm not going to spend too much on this play, but I would hit just because let's say you say, I want to do this because it's safer. Well, first of all, you allow your opponent the opportunity to anchor, and he can still hit you on the 22 points. Difficult to actually nail down what it is I don't like about this play. It's easy for me to see that it's just not right to do it. I mean, other than the obviousness of stopping him from anchoring, it's difficult to say exactly what's wrong with it. So 3-4 is going to come in, obviously make the 9 point. You don't need to anchor. Now Danny didn't have a cube when after he'd been hit back, so he will come in on the 20 and just hit. And we know that even if things go right for him from here, he's probably not going to double. So what 6 do you play here? So let's just go back here and have a look at. So you've got a 4-6 to play from here, and this comes up all the time. And how do you decide what's best? And I don't know the answer to this. All I know is that one scenario gets your checkers closer to each other. That's the scenario where you come in on the 21 point and then you play 22-16, so they're 5 away from each other. Furthermore, that scenario duplicates your opponent's 4s, since he would need a 4 to hit there and a 4 to hit you on the scenarios are getting a bit confusing. 4 to hit you on the on the 4 point. And then the other way, the other configuration, where you just come in and out, where you minimize shots instead of leaving 14 shots, you leave 13, right? I think. But you leave the checkers. If that guy gets hit, then there are going to be no returns because the checker covering is 7 pips away. Again, I don't really know the answer. I think it's more important just to espouse the considerations, but perhaps what I'm thinking is that when our opponent is balled on the 8, 6 and 5 points, then the best thing to do is to keep the checker that comes in furthest up in our board, to keep it there, because really, all things considered, we prefer to anchor on that point than on the lower point, and we can afford to do so when our opponent doesn't have any real spares with which he can hit us on that furthermost upper point. But MCG is going to go for the other one. So Danny rolls the 5-2, he's going to make the anchor. I'm going to have to try and... oh, he's not. No, this is just surprising that he does this, and this is going to make it even more difficult for me to transcribe. So just simply the reason why you don't do this is because you just don't have enough men there to cover to complete any sort of blitz. So you just have to say to yourself, I'm going to give up on the blitz. and maybe the blitz will be resuscitated at some later point on the game. But if you lose like your 8 point and then you get all those men sent back, then there can never be a blitz, and there can also be much less of a prime. So this is Danny's biggest checker play mistake so far. And just the alternative of coming in on the 20 is so reasonable. It's surprising that he's making this play without really thinking. (3-1) is going to double hit. Okay, just moving too quickly, but this is obviously a play where there's so many different options. I mean, are we really gonna? Do we bother with things like this? Do we expend mental energy? And the answer is, I don't know, yes and no. One thing to notice is that it's not so much of a gain to make the 22 point, because our opponent's got the 9 point, and so we would be blocked in with 6s. So I guess when we're on the 23 point, we can come out with 5s. If we're on the 22 point, we can only come out with 4s. So unless he breaks the 9 point, there's not really much advantage to being on the 22. And then of course, you don't really want to get hit, so you do want to safety that checker. But then of course, if you safety that checker, then you'll have 3 men on the 24 point. It's generally not very good to have 3 men on the very back point. Brian Brooks says, it's easy to let plans live on past their natural death. Yeah. Hi, Brian. Yeah, absolutely. It's, well, I would say it isn't so easy, but that's the point. Somehow in backgammon we need to have something in our mind that naturally switches and sees that it's no longer right to adhere to that previous dynamic or strategy. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you don't just see it, then if you don't have that grace, or if you don't have that insight, then you're not going to see it, and you're just going to hang on to the old strategy. It's almost like backgammon is as much as you can learn what the right thing is to do, you have to be able to sort of just see it, as silly as that sounds. So anyway, the double one I think can be played in multiple ways. Maybe just playing 1 to the 22 now is reasonable. So I think what I'm going to do at the moment is try and transcribe some of it, because I'm going to forget an awful lot. I can't even remember how we started. So I think we started with a 3-1 for Danny. And then Matt rolled a 4-3, it's an 11-point match, that's good. Then Danny rolled a 6-3. And then Matt fanned, and this is where we're saying that Danny should cube. In any case, he didn't, and he rolled a 5-3, and I think he played it correctly by making the ace point. And I've already forgotten. I think Matt came in with a 3x, as in 3 not coming in. And then this personally, I don't know what people think about this, unsure whether it's got better or worse. In some ways, this position feels stronger. It's kind of got the possibility of making the points in order. In any case, we can see it's a big double. And now this position, you've lost that impetus. But I guess you still have to double. And I think Danny rolled a 2-1. And it's actually a much bigger double. So I'm completely wrong about that for what that's worth. And it's a pass. So what's going on here? We've put one checker in the air. So we've gained some pips. And we've got the possibility of pointing on one, whereas in this position, we're making the points in order, which seems strong, but our opponent has always got the possibility of anchoring. So maybe it's the possibility of anchoring here which makes it slightly less strong for us. I'm going to have to refresh my memory on the dice rolls here. Here we go, back to the 3-4. Oh. So no harm in viewing it again. The 6-5, and then there was no thought, and then the 5-3. He changed his mind. Matt came in with a 3. Danny didn't cube again. I think he rolled a 2-1. And I wasn't sure, couldn't remember whether Matt did roll a 4-3 and brought 2 checkers in. Okay, 5-4. And then the 3-1, the split. Okay, we got that. And that Matt rolls the 4-3. Fine. 5-6. Oh. And then 4-6 out. And then the 2-5. Okay, I don't know why my memory is so bad today, but we'll have to we will have to work with that. I've probably even forgotten that. So back to the transcription. 4-5. I remember that as much. And then the 3-1, I believe, is pretty obvious. Yeah, and of course this is going to be a big pass. We don't need to talk about that too much. In fact, wrong. 3-1 is a... See what it says about 3-1, but it's to do... nothing's going on here. The question is, like, after what play will you... Okay, well, we won't answer that question because it is right to play it to 4. Matt rolls a really good number. Of course, he's not going to anchor. He's going to come in with a 3 and make the 9 point. That seems right. Then Danny rolled a 6-5. Hit. And what did Matt roll? Anyone? Okay, well, let's go back. Matt rolled his 4-6. Okay, fine. He came out. Let's have a look at this. What we think about this. How big is the difference? What is right with the 6? So a little better on 4 ply to come to the 16 point. That seems to make sense to me. Can't deny my glee in getting something right, even though I can't remember a couple of dice sequences. We know that now that Danny rolls a 5-2. So on plus it gets a little bit bigger. Yeah, I like the idea of keeping the man on the 21, just in order to possibly try and make that point if push comes to shove. Then there's 2-5, which is really nasty. While it's working the stuff out, 3-1. And this is, I think, as far as we got. Double 1. Unusual play, just if you're gonna move the checker on the 8 point, why not make it safe? And let's have a little review of where we are. So really, we're asking the question, how good is someone? I mean, look, I'm not trying to dig into this guy, but just to see how, whether or not when we don't see, or from my point of view, when I see a new name, I'm always wondering, well, can someone I've not heard of really be that good? And sometimes you get people that you haven't heard of, they enter into big entry fees. And I hadn't heard of Danny. Perhaps he's been taking lessons from someone, I don't know. Not from me. So going through and just seeing that actually how important cubing is, and how, if we were watching the stream, how Danny didn't take any time to even think about cubing here. But it's just such a luscious position. But then he had a 5-3 to play, which he played well, because I don't think you want to risk being hit back on the 4 point when if you go for, the numbers are all screwed up, if you go for hitting on the 16. Let me just try and change those numbers around if I can. And then the interesting thing is that it's an even stronger cube after Danny plays his 5-3, makes the ace point, and then Matt enters with a 3-6. He enters one checker only. Okay, that was a bad idea because now my computer's hanging. Okay, just about gonna cope, maybe. That's a little bit better. So like I was saying, Matt entered with one checker. This is, I would have queued, but I don't think I would have passed as black. And I'm struggling to see the strength in this position because of this kind of absence of stuff here. It's like there's only really a spare 3. There's a couple of spare 10s to be hitting with, but my visual is that there isn't really enough here. And what I'm kind of aiming at is in the back of my mind possibly is where you get to this sort of position where you don't really want to be hitting off the 8 point, and in other words, you haven't got enough strength, enough men there to be blitzing. So that's my bias in this sort of position here. I love this position, but I don't love this position too much. So Brian says, might MCG be playing quicker because he sees DOs and pausing? Yeah, probably. Standard thing, just telling your opponent, sending him the message that, oh no, I don't think this is a cube, so don't cube. And believe it or not, it just seems to happen that when you do that, people just happily, they don't cube. It's almost like they're picking up subliminally on on your self-talk, on what's going through your head. And then this, when after he hits and Matt fails to come in, this is super strong for me. Like, you've got another checker that you can hit and cover on. You can just make the 3-point with all 5s and 6-4. I just don't think this can ever be a take. Oh no, now this is a take. Okay. So something for me to work on. What is going on here? Without boring people too much. So this, we have one checker on the 22, one on the bar, and we're threatening to hit, right? Now this, we have to cover, I see. So it's weaker in a sense to have to cover that block, even though some of the covering numbers are going to either hit and cover or put 2 men in the air, like 5-4. Yeah, I think you're right, Brian, going back to picking up on what you said. So anyway, that's just something to notice, the strength of these cubes. Hope we're not boring anyone. And then if we don't cube, I always emphasize to my students that, well, let's say that you didn't cube just for a laugh. You knew it was a cube, but what you would be trying to do is, if you hadn't cubed, was make sure that you didn't jeopardize your ability to cube next go. However, having said that, there's no way that you can do something like clear the 6-point, because that wouldn't not jeopardize your chances of cubing next go. So you just have to make this natural play of 8-4, and in some instances, on some sequences, you will have a cube. Obviously, when he doesn't hit back, you'll have a pass probably. Yeah, so that's what's going on. But he didn't play that, which, yeah, let's just sort of give a brief look into, like, you can get a read on someone, remember, or we cast our mind back to when we first started playing. It wouldn't seem normal at all to leave 2 blocks in board. And in other words, I'm saying that if you don't make that play, then you're probably unlikely to be playing better than maybe a 10 or an 11, because it's such a normal play to make for someone that's at that level. Anyway, the 2-5 is just really hurting yourself by hitting, and then the double 1. The best play, of course, it's going to be a pass anyway, and we got to that point, presume that Matt is going to double, and we don't know what Danny will do. It's very unpredictable. We probably think it's very difficult to say. He might have been swayed by the 4 men back and just insta-pass, or he might just insta-take. It's really difficult to say, but like for winning chances, what's the best? Or are we going to just not worry about it? We're not going to worry about it. We're going to go back to the stream, which is where we got to. And we're going to continue, because this is fun. This is good. Going back to the 4-6, we don't need to forward it there. It's such a beautiful picture to look at. There's no lag. This is where Danny hurts himself with the 5-2. Danny's got like a kind of a sporty thing going on there with, is that an Amiga symbol? Frat house? I don't know what all that stuff in the US is all about. It's all a bit weird and kooky. So we know the analysis. We have a spoiler here after the double 1. It's a pass. But what is Danny going to do? Wish I had a little bit more sound. Not with the checker play. So Matt's picking up the dice. I doubt that he's just going to roll without... I mean, yeah. It doesn't take him too long to cube. And then how long is Danny going to take? He's going to take like... he almost... Yeah, that's an insta. That's an insta. Okay, so double take. I mean, sorry, let's go back. I made an assumption here. If we can get the arm out of the way. No. Can we have things how we... No, we can never have things how we want them. Okay, this is the position. And I just sort of glossed this over. This is, to me, it's... I mean, I have the decision already, but this is untakeable. And when something's so obvious, it's actually quite difficult to explain why it is as it is. Why is it not takeable? Well, not only are there 5 men back, but they're very likely to be broken 5 primed. This guy is likely to be joined by another guy very soon. And not only that, there are 2 checkers out of play. There's just no way of even considering. And then to have a read on Danny, it's just nice to know that our reads are pretty accurate. You know, we didn't know whether he would insta-pass or insta-take, but he pretty much insta-took. He just touched the cube and brought it down. But what I'm getting from that is that he doesn't really know how to think about taking or passing, or he doesn't care one way or the other, which is fine, absolutely fine. Everyone has their own approach to... They can play the game how they want to play it. It's their decision. So Matt's going to roll a 5-1. He's going to just stay back on the 22. That seems sensible because the man on the 22 is causing some sort of hassle. Was I going to say havoc? It's just an impediment for Danny, because Danny really wants to build his board, and the first port of call is to slot the 4-point, and of course he can't really slot because of the danger of leaving a 1-shot. He doesn't really want to get another man sent back, because that will just increase the chances of getting gammon. I mean, I think even though there are double anchors there, as black, all I'm trying to do is get maximum number of checkers back, and maybe not maximum, but get a few more, get him to crunch. It's basically an easy game for black, but in any case, that guy on the 22 is going to be a bit of a thorn in Danny's side, so that's why playing 15-10 is very normal and best. I think that's a 3-2, which is a great roll and instantly played. I have absolutely no issue with that. It's definitely an insta play just to make the 21 point. I don't see how anything could become remotely close. And then now a 6-2, and thoughts about making the bar possibly. What I'm looking at after that is like, I want to fill this gap, and he's probably not going to hit with a 2 or 1, but I can't really do that with I can't fill the gap with a 6-2, so that's out. So if I discount actually making the bar, do I really want to play 13-5? And why I say do I really want to play it? Because it's a bit of an overshoot. It's like the overshoot is overshooting the 7-point. The 7-point is the point that I believe I want to make. Well, I do want to make, but I might be wrong about that. And the guy on the 5-point can't go back, so you don't really want to put him on the 5-point if you're trying to make the 7-point. What else can I say sensible about this position? I mean, it's a tricky, you could obviously just decide now to come out to the 16, the arrow's a bit rushed, and then you could just say, well, I don't want to be hit with a 6, I don't think you really do want to be hit with a 6, so the checker on the 10 point, there is some sense to lifting it. But like I said, if you do lift it, then do you really want to come out because you decided that you want to stay back before to be a thorn in Danny's side, to stop him from just building his board? Maybe you know, getting him to leave you more shots and get more checkers sent back. So what's my conclusion? I think I'm probably going to make the 7 point, leaving 5s and 6s. I can't see anything as constructive as that. There is another play which is just 13-7, 10-8, but then that leaves 6s, 5s and 3s. Leaves a really a much better 6 for your opponent. Yeah, I can't say any more than that, other than it feels right to make the bar, but I don't know. Let's see what Matt does. Okay, he does go for that. He looks at it. He's going to set it back. Yeah, I was sort of like, the fact that he looks at it so quickly might suggest that he's going to put it back, but he might then re-establish it. Like, this now looks weak. This is just weak. It's sort of, it doesn't hammer the nail in. I can't really be any more specific than that. It's like, if you don't make the bar, let's be specific. If you don't make the bar, then there are some numbers that become very good that I believe will be played in such way as to make the bar himself, i.e. your opponent's going to make the bar. And those numbers are 5-5 for starters, 3-3, 6-5. I think 6-5 will make the bar quite happily. Therefore, if we can see that those numbers are so strong for our opponent, or if we agree that they are, then we see that we must deny him the opportunity of making the bar, right? So Matt's put it back. Yeah, this is, again, a consideration, but this is another, like a hybrid of that kind of idea. Just, this is obviously okay. I mean, look, you're winning the game, whatever you do. You probably don't want to slot the bar, because that really scuppers your chances. It looks like he's going to go for this. It's interesting, because I don't think this is right, just because of the stackiness. Okay, we will see. We will see. 2-1. Danny's going to play fast again. He always plays fast. Okay, he leaves a shot now. It's not going to be too bad. I mean, he's screwed whichever way you look at it. So he brings one down. I'm not going to look too much. And now I think making the 3 point is strong. Like, your priority here is to make the 3, not to play safe. Why do you need to make the 3? Because it's eventually going to be a landing spot for your guys on the 9 point and the 8 point and stuff like that. So I would make the 3. I like this. I don't care if I get hit. My timing, my timing will improve relative to my opponent. Three, 2. You can. This is difficult. I think coming up is fine, because you give yourself a chance to let me just have a look at that. Not such an interesting play, but if you stay back on the 24, you're going to run out of checkers to play with. And if you put a man on the 21, you have 6s and 3s, as opposed to if you stay on the 24, you have you still have a 3 to come up to the 21 and a 6 to escape. So it's the same number. Is it roughly the same? Roughly, whatever. Roughly the same sort of numbers to escape. But the other thing to note is when you're on the 21, that a 6 can sometimes be escaped all the way. Whereas if you're on the 24, then a 6, 1 and 6, 2 are just going to be stopped by the checkers on the 8 and the 9 point. So that's what's going on there. So yeah, I think I would make that play. I do believe we would much prefer to have the bar as Matt. I'm going to make the bar now. I guess that seems right to me. It's just talking about the bar, so 6-3 is good. We're going to come out and we're just going to slot the 4 point natural. Like now we'd be okay as white, as grey, whatever it is, duck egg, whatever the colour this is, if these checkers were transported to like here, like we'd be okay. But since they're not there and they're also like creating these nasty gaps, there's two major things going against us, and like we know in backgammon, just a couple of pips can really make a huge difference, and this is like about 18 pips difference. So Matt rolls a 5-1. Where was he on the... He was on the 16, having come out to the 16 with the 6-2. So it seems right to hit. I think I'm going to switch over to the stream, to XG, so that we, you know, we this is the kind of speed we're going at. That's fine. We're doing a little double one was played like this. We're back on the XG, bit of an ugly board, but what can we do? I don't have the XG. I have so many of Rain, the graphic designer who made some different skins for XG. I have so many of his boards and they're great, but I don't have the Jeffrey Parker one, which was the one that they are playing on at the moment. So Matt doubles. Double. And we know that this is, well, we strongly suspect this is a pass. And Matt rolled a 5-1. Just coming round like that, very natural, very easy play, in my opinion. The double is like a huge pass. It's almost, it's such a strong position. It's only a small error not to double, as in that it's very unlikely that the position is going to turn around on you such that you need to double now. Did we have a 3-2 in the house? I believe we did. We can always go back, insta play, and then we had our 6-2. Like this. This is the really interesting play. I mean, I wasn't sure about this, but I would have made the bar. So let's see. Okay, so Matt chose right. It is close. It is like 0.02, but when a play is wrong, it's wrong. There's no assuming that the computer... Yeah, it gets a little bit worse as well on oh, it gets a lot worse on plus. Oh well. What? I mean, I'm obviously wrong, but I don't... Okay. Something I'm not seeing. So anyway, Matt made that play, and I think that Danny rolled his 2-1 and just came down. Am I right? And then Matt rolled a 5-3. Now I'm not so 100% certain I've got these. I need someone to help me with the dice rolls because I'm just struggling for some reason. Let's go back. Where are we now? This is the 6-2. Two one we know is right. He's played 13-10, but then I'm not sure whether the 5-3 comes now. I think it does. It takes a little bit of time over the... That's the 2-1 is on the board. The 5-3, okay, makes the 3, and then a 2-1 from Danny. Right, a 3-2. Yeah, that's what I meant. He comes up and plays 10. Oh no, he doesn't play 10-8. Yes, he does. Double 1 for Matt, making the 7-point. 6-3. Okay, back to XG, back to the drawing board. So the 5-3, then the 3-2. That's got to be reasonable, the 3-2. And then Matt rolls a double 1, making the 7-point. Danny rolls a 6-3, comes out, slots the 4, doesn't he? I think so. Matt rolls a 5-1. And did we get any further than this? I don't know if we did. Okay, so it's still looking at the it's not looking at the 6-2 anymore. It is, it's still looking at the, it's analysing it on a higher analysis setting. So while it's doing so, just looking at how, again, how this cube is only very slightly a cube because it's so strong. As in, it could conceivably be too good to double on a higher analysis setting. And then the 3-2 is a great roll. It's maybe like top 3, maybe double 5 is better, making the 18, double 6 is better. Okay, it's still analysing the 6-2. Right, so why don't we go back to the stream? Oops. This is the double 1. Just making the bar. Seems... Okay, good to... And then Matt rolls a 5-1, then he's got to hit. He can't really do anything else. I mean, he could just play 13-7, but then he will get hit himself. He doesn't really want that. And then he could do that, but not hit, play to the 11-point, but it seems good to hit your opponent because then he gets another one stuck and he can only then play with the checkers on the 13-point. So I think this is where we got to. Do 6 is going to have to hit, right? No, actually, what am I talking about? That could have been a humongous blunder by me. But certainly if Danny had his 4-point, do 6 would hit. Maybe that's a bit of an obvious statement. Okay, I'm going to say I'm not sure about the 2-6. Oh, this is double 5. So you can, it's pretty much forced. I mean, either way, you're going to play to the 3 point or to the 8 point. It doesn't really matter too much. I'm not sure whether you want to do this, but I'm going to go with Matt. So the game has kind of settled down. There's not too much to look at here. It's just going to be pretty much routine, which is why I'm not spending too much time. Double 2 made it. 3-1. Just put the checkers where they're going to enable you to bear in and off. Well, to bear in most safely. So he plays 8-5, 13-12. So now a hit will obviously be great. 6-1. So just a little thing. He played 6-1 and a 1, but I would keep the checker there so that if we get hit with if we get hit with a 1, what am I saying? Yeah, if we get hit with a 1 and we're on the 10 points, what are we going to get hit with? 2-1 or double 1? The swing on 2-1 and double 1 is small, so if you're on the 10 point and he hits you with a double 1, okay, double 1 is going to do that, so that's nonsense. But if he rolls a 2-1, then he has to leave you a shot if you're on the 10 point. But if you're on the 11 point and he rolls a 2-1, then he hits, and then he could play like 8-6, which is actually what he does want to do with the 2, and then you would have no returns. So I would, yeah, I would stay on the 10 point for that reason. So anyway, he does go all the way with the 6-1. 6-5, and then you play 8-3, and so now Matt's bearing in against, it's sort of an okay timed game, but with a crappy ace point and a gap. Got to be super careful, but it just looks like it's obvious to clear the 8 point. That's an unusual play with the 4-1. Alright, let's go back to the stream because we're going to forget. Still looking at the 6-2. Alright, so we had 5-1 and then we had this 2-6. Too big to hit. So I would play this. Okay, I'm going to cancel the 6-2 analysis. I've already forgotten what Matt rolled. That is just ridiculous. Interrupt roll. Why is it to cancel all? Okay. I've forgotten this whole sequence, so I'm going to have to rewatch it. 5-5, 2-2. 2-2, no, it was 4-2. Oh, you're right, Brian. 5-5, 2-2, 3-1, 6-1, 6-5, 4-2, 1-3, 1-4. That's very helpful. Three one, and then he rolls 6-1. Okay, let's get back. Where are we? Ah, yeah, here we go. This is a double 5. And we know he didn't play it like that. He left a checker on the midpoint. We'll come back to it. We'll have a look. I guess to get a checker on the 3 points. Double 2. Jeez. Jeez Louise. Okay, double 2, right? See, they're so trivial, there's nothing to kind of help you remember. Double 2, he does that. Okay, I remember that now. 1 3, I know that Matt plays 1 into the 5 point and plays 13 12. Then I know that Danny rolls 6 1, comes all the way out, but he makes an illegal play, which Matt corrects. Six 5. Four 2. He slots. Okay, we're going to remember that and brings it closer. Yeah, we're not going to care too much about what's right or not. 3 1 clears the 8 point. But there could be something interesting. 4 1, yeah, he comes down to the 10 point and plays 4 to 3, which is just interesting that he does that. I mean, unusual. 5 1 is semi-forced. Three 2 is going to make the 4 point. Double 5 is forced. I don't want to be too ambitious because my brain is not working. Double 2 did that. Oh, no it didn't. 1 2 3. Can't actually remember. 6 5 does that. And then four 2. Why am I screwing up? Okay. So back to the double 2. I don't know why I didn't see that. 1 2 3 4. Three 1. And then we had the 6 1 played all the way. Then I believe we had a 6 5. Four 2 he did this. Pretty sure. 3 1 clears the this point. And this one I do remember because it sticks in my mind. And then that rolled 5-1, right? And then Danny rolled 3-2. Am I right? Am I right? Okay. That's the 6-5. This is the 4-1. I was not right. Where am I going wrong? Major brain sludge. 3-1, okay. 4-1, 14-10, 4-3. Then the 5-1, right? Yep. Then 3-2. Something tells me I've still got it wrong. 5-5, okay, we didn't get to here. Fine. Yeah, there is going to be some action. But now we remember this stuff. Okay, so 5-5. So this is a decision, but it's not too difficult. Most likely going to stay because you're not at much risk. Okay, which he does. So not going to linger too much on that one. 5-4, so no 5. Now the 4-1 is going to stay still. 3-1 is a great roll, gets Matt out of trouble. 4-3. Okay, we should be able to go on to the next game. Okay, he's going to come and play to the 19 point. Okay, yeah, just 5-1 and take 3 off. 6-2. Okay, he's going to close the board. I'm only saying this stuff not to commentate, just to help me remember when it comes to transcribing. 6-2 is safe and 1 on the 3 point. 6 is neat for the transcription. Yep, it's easy to remember. 3-1 is going to clear the 4 point. Think. He does do it. Yeah, he's going to do it. Okay, let's get back to this dreaded XG. I think we're right. 5-5 is forced. And then I think we had a 5-5 ourselves. And then we had a 5-4. Yeah, we're remembering. And then we had a 4-1. Did we? And then Matt rolled a 3-1. Now memory, but now complete amnesia. Here's the 5-4. Was it 4-1? Yeah. 3-1. stream is a disaster. Okay, but what did he roll here? Did he fan? He rolled a 6-1 eventually. He fanned. Alright, this was 5-1. 6-1. Something. Six one came in. I believe we had a 4-3. I had a 6-2. I don't even remember. I think 6-6. And then 3-1. I think we're there. Worst stream ever. Literally the worst. Okay. So let's just do the rolls after 3-1, we'll get back to another game. Yeah, Matt does clear, so he's got 5 on the thing and 8, or whatever it is. 4-3, he's going to play to 3 in the 1. Double 6. There's an ace. It was an ace. 5-2. Five, 3, taking 2 off. 5-2, coming to the 9 point. And that's it. I think that we're going to allow Danny to resign a single. And we're going to move on to the next game. Because backgammon is beautiful. This was where Danny rolled a 4-3. Jeez. No, that was meant to be a 5-3. Something like this, not important. Okay, so he's going to resign a single game. I accept. I resign. Okay. So where did we get to? Let's have a little look back. The 3-2 was a great roll. Then Matt played this 6-2 precisely, making the bar is slightly wrong. Then Danny made just an unusual play. So if you don't spot that you want to make the 22, I didn't see this at all actually, then maybe you would just play 7-4. You wouldn't leave a shot. So I'm not sure whether or not he was thinking that he wants to get another checker sent back. 5-3 is going to make the 3 point. No real need to get the checker safe. The second best play is just coming to the 11. But you really want the 3 point, like I said. And then 3-2 he came up, which seemed normal. In fact, with the double 1, 2 plays are close. One is just leaving a shot, playing 1 from the 9 to the 7, 1 from the 8 to the 7, and then playing 16 to 15, leaving a checker on the 16. But it's trivial. 2-6, it would have been a big blunder to hit. That made sense. Then Matt made this interesting play with double 5. Hasn't caught up on the analysis yet. Cancel all. So none of these plays were consequential at all, but just topping and tailing. The 6-1 was a slight thing where I think I would have, like I said, stayed on the 15. It's lingering over that, but yeah, it's a tiny thing, tiny difference, because... And then the strange, which is a top play, actually, better than XG's own play, just to play 4 to 3. Just to give yourself... So what's this play actually doing? Although it's a bit of overkill to really look at it. It's allowing you to cover your 4-point with 6s and 5s, which is a good thing, as opposed to... Oh, blue stacks has stopped working. As opposed to now this play, the normal play, you only have 5s and 7s to cover. So that's a really good... It's a neat thing that Danny did there. Again, not sure why. It's an unusual play. And then these plays were forced pretty much for both sides. Double 5, you're just going to stay back. 4-1, you're going to stay back. And it was weird. The comment I was going to make here is that after all the hard work that Matt has done, how did he get into a position? How does it happen in backgammon that we're crushing our opponent, and yet we get to a position where it's very, very tenuous? Like before the 3-1, we're only a 63% favourite, which seems even higher than it looks. And then we have to pull out a 3-1 to really... So many bad rolls. So how did that happen, considering that Danny took a big pass? Difficult to say without taking oodles and oodles of time and boring the shit out of people, but I don't even know if I would be able to... Let's have a quick... From that perspective, how is it that something that seems so crushing? Well, I suppose once he makes the 21 point, actually, he gets a whole lot of equity back. He moves up from 22% to 26, and then just manages to keep the anchors. I guess maybe that's the lesson to be learned. If you can keep the anchors, even though you have got a busted board, you've got the ace point, it's okay. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the next game. Yeah, yeah. I slightly mistranscribed, but no one's gonna. So Matt did get lucky. He had to get lucky. All right, 2-0 up. Let's. (4-2) there, slightly wonky, all the checkers. Okay, 4-2, 4-1, and then 4-2. Oh, why is he why is he okay, all right. Let's have a look at this. These are... I see why people quibble over first moves, because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of concepts packed into these plays, and it kind of prioritizes the values quite well. So my instinct here is to try and obtain an advanced anchor, and then you can do something reasonably productive with the 2, so you unstack and then I kind of sit on the play and think, well, is it okay? Are there any detracting things to it or any positive things? One of the positive things I notice is that it severely duplicates 4-3 for my opponent, because 4-3 is going to want to come up here, but it's also going to want to do that. That's a big thing for me. And then can I notice anything else? Well, just to go back to general principles, I think I really want to get an advanced anchor. And so if I can actually make a play which prepares that, which anticipates that, then I'm going to do that. So 24-20 to me seems to be forced. As far as hitting is concerned, there is some sense in hitting, because there's a blot out here which is, if you don't hit, is going to be used generally. It's going to be able to be used in general more to your opponent's advantage, since that he will have his full roll, and when he does have his full roll, it's good to have a blot, because then that blot can be converted into a point. Conversely, when he doesn't have his full roll, then you're giving yourself a chance to stop that blot, which would convert into a positive full permanent asset. You're stopping it. You're making it such that it's less likely that it will be able to convert into an asset. So these blots here are always trying to sort of be converted into permanent assets, like either by getting a guy to cover it and make the 9 point, or by making the 5 point or the 4 point or even the 3 point. So although I wouldn't have hit, I cannot sort of completely rule it out. And what I do know is that after if your opponent splits with a 1-4 and then you roll a 4-3, then you should actually hit. But the difference between that hit and this hit is that with the 4-3 hit, you're kind of going for an advanced anchor by splitting to the 21, whereas here you're only getting to the 22 point if you want to split. But let's see whether he actually does. I presume he is going to play 24-22 with the 2. Are there any other plays apart from 24-20, 13-11, 13 and hitting something else with the 2? Well, yeah, there's 24-18, but is that can that be better than 24-20, 13-11? I don't think so, because I think on balance you want to give yourself a potential builder on the 11 point, and if you go to the 18 point, then you obviously don't do that. And then you ask yourself the question of what is the superior anchor, and I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm suspecting, I guess most really strong players would say, well, of course it's got to be the 20 point, but then it's not so clear to me, because the 18 point is further advanced, and what you really want to do is get your back checkers out. So sorry for all that garbage, but that's the kind of things that I'm thinking. And then the other thing, before I go on, hey, he does split, is that you've only got 4 checkers on the 6 point, so it's not that incumbent on you to unstack. Okay, so he does go for that. So what did we have? We had 4-2, 4-1, 4-2 hit. 4-1 would have made the 5 point, incidentally, so that's probably a gain for Danny. He prefers to have done what he did. 6-2 is pretty obvious. The only thing to point out again is that we should note, just don't forget to look at whether or not our opponent has the 9 point when we're making the 22. There's no alternative really, but I mean, there is an alternative, but it seems too risky not to anchor your back men. There's too many things that want to bear down on you. So, but by elimination, yeah, you've got to do this. So it's all good. 4-2 is natural. So Danny's got the advantage because he's got an advanced, a superior anchor basically. 3-2, he'll just make the 8 point. Matt will run with a 6. And he knows that if he rolls a 6, he's going to run with a 6. It will go all the way to the 14 point. Double aces, yeah, he's going to do this. I had a sense that he might, and then he's going to play 2-1 twice. Or he's going to take them back. Yeah. So now he does get there. I don't believe you can do anything but this. So I'm not going to looking too much about this play. And now after making the 5-3 for Matt, he can either play 9 and we'll do this. Not going to take too long about this play. And Danny I think it's fine if he doesn't think about cubing, but I would at least have a cursory glance just to see what's going on, and probably then dismiss the idea. But before dismissing, note that I'm 2-0 down, which makes a slight difference. I am reading your comments, Brian. So in a back game, Brian says, in a back game, are 2 contiguous anchors almost always better than 2 anchors separated by a point or more? No idea. Very, very good question. I could try and wing some sort of rubbish answer. So okay, now I'm thinking about it. So the 4-2 back game, 23 and 21. Is that better than the... well, let's put it the other way. Is the 23 and 22 better than the... Okay, let's not answer it. It gets too deep for me, and I've got too many things to think about. So anyway, Matt played the 5-3. He played 14-11. He had a checker on the 14 because he'd just run with the 6-4, so that's all good. And Danny should have just had maybe a brief glance. 2 down, so Danny's playing clean, perfect, not made a mistake. It's pretty even. Double 4's going to make the 5 from the 9 point and then remake the 9 point, and that's, even though it has to clear the mid, it's a gainer. So this is, oh, I didn't see, this is, now this is either going to be too good or double pass. I suspect that Danny will double almost anything. If Matt doesn't come in, I think Danny will double. I think Danny will double this anyway, so he comes in with a 1-5. Usually people double this. This is a very easy... he does. He does a swing, sort of a weird... And Matt's going to pass, although it wouldn't be like the biggest blunder I've ever seen. It would be pretty big. You've got really not very much. Okay, so that should be an easier game to transcribe, and the reason why is because all the plays seem to hang together, and they were kind of pretty much forced. I say that and hoping to get the right, but Danny did open with a 4-2. Matt rolled a 4-1 and had to split, right? And then Danny did. Oh, I said Danny played clean, but I forgot he did this, which is not good. Matt rolled a 1-4, which would have made the 5 point, and then Danny rolled a 6-2, which made sense. Nice roll. And almost forgot, Matt rolled a 4-2 to kind of equalize. Yep. Danny, I believe, rolled a 5-3, which was nice, bringing 2 checkers down. Now it's not so clear to me, but I believe Matt rolled his 6-4 here. Am I right, Brian? Something tells me I've gone wrong. Missed a roll or something. I mean, I remember these 5-3, but have I missed something? Feels like I have. Don't know, maybe not. 4-4. Don't think it really matters too much what he does. And then the 1-5. Sorry, the 1-5. Which doesn't make any difference, I don't think, because it's a pass anyway.
Double. Drop.
Why is that still out there? We've already passed. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the game because I feel like I've misremembered something, but I think that was pretty much it. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. We missed something. We did miss something. (6-2). Then the 4-2. Ah, the 3-2, right, yeah, that's what it was. Then the 6-4, that makes sense. That seems to hang better in my memory. Yeah, that's what was... Okay, sorry, I didn't Yeah, that's... We need to... That was the 3-2. An interim 3-2, 6-4. 1-1. There was no 5-3 for Danny at least. Even this I'm suspicious about. Was this what it was? Anyway.
Double.
An easy pass. I got a message from EasyJet. Okay, so let's go back to the stream. Just to check, just to double check. 6-4, 1-1, 5-3, 4-4. All seemed like, seems to be more. Oh. I forgot the 4-4 and the 5-3. I am a plonker. It's funny, you can always sort of sense when something's not quite right, even if you don't know what it is. This seems right, right? This seems right, right? And then 4-4. Boom. Yeah, this looks right to me. But why we can't remember stuff? Yeah. So I think everything's good apart from this 5-3. Have I missed? I believe Matt did play 14-11, 13-8, but I could be wrong. Yeah, he did. Which is what I would have done as well, actually. Yeah. Yeah. We're all good. So, just as a quick 4-2, 4-1 makes us a 43% underdog. 4-2. So what's better than the 4-2? First of all, 24-20, 13-11. 24-18 isn't really in the ballpark. Didn't consider I think probably the second best play, which is 24-22, 13-9. Which doesn't appear to duplicate too much. But I guess the gain is that when you get hit, your opponent hasn't achieved as much as he would have done if you get hit in the variation where you come to the 20 point. But the idea is, even though it's close, I think the idea is quite clear that you risk your opponent's gain by trying to make the biggest gain yourself. 24-18 is a little bit better than Danny's play. Then it was forced. The 6-2 is close-ish. You can come down to the 11 instead of making the 22. Double 1, good roll. Can play 14-9, 13-10, which is the best play, but that's not going to concern us too much here. And then, like, not a cube, right? Yeah, you're just okay, fine. So no need to wait there, unless you need to check it. And then double 4 is another force play. Double 4, and then like big pass. Only 18% winning chances, plus a whole host of gammons. Okay. So it's going to go 2-1. So it seems that the opening plays are the most interesting, although, you know, they highlight lots of important concepts. Okay, so Danny again wins the opening roll. He's going to be a 2-down guy, which is not... I find it very uncomfortable to do that, even though it's right. And then I just about know that in response, you're going to play 24-18, 13-11. Like, you could play 13-5. Duplicating some of the 4s, but I wouldn't, just because I want to get these checkers moving, even at the cost of being hit. And again, the concept for me is that we're making the best gain that we can, even though it might cost us. But actually, having said that, it costs us probably more to be hit if we play 13-5. And then we need to be complete and look at other plays like 24-22, 13-7. I would never consider this, but it does dupe some of your opponent's sixes, like 6-5 he will use to make the 5 point. 6-3, but that's not going to be the next. Well, it's not the play that really comes into consideration is after 24-18, 13-11 is probably 24-16, but since there's a triple shot, I tend to shy away from that and prefer to stay back to try and make the 18 point. I'm fairly sure that 24-18, 13-11 is theoretically right, but I don't know. Just sort of, you could see he was like dithering over, he was about to hit, and then something just said, don't do it, and that was like the extent of the thought process. And is it easy? 5-3 here? No, it's not easy to double hit because it leaves blots, but for me the alternative of what you're looking at is what happens if you just make like the so-called maybe normal play. Then you'll have two checkers there, and if your opponent rolls a 6, he will link up. If he rolls a 4, he'll hit you there, and then some other numbers he'll just make the point. So conversely, if you hit, then I think it's fairly easy to see that other than ones, if your opponent rolls anything other than a 1, then you've kind of stopped him from improving, i.e. making your bar point or hitting you or making a point and board. And although you haven't improved your position tangibly, you've kind of improved it by stopping him improving. So he does go for making the 5 point. 4-3 is obvious. 5-1, yep. Now we love to come in late. That's what he should have done with the 5-2 in the first game. Just gone straight for the 20 point. Double 4 making the 5 point from the 9 point is obvious. For one, again, I like the fact that he comes in on the 21. And before I forget, I'm going to input some moves, because I'm liable to forget. I've already forgotten the first roll. The trick is to remember the first roll. And he did this 3-2, which I never liked myself. And then Matt rolled a 6-2. Remember that. Even 3 or 4 moves, I can't. 5-3, so Danny made the 5 point. And that rolled a 4-3. Did that, that's obvious. 5-1 is very nice, an obvious play. Unstacking. Double 4. Was it double 4? I think so. And then 4-1, and I actually don't know what to do with the 2 here, but Danny did 6-5. Let's leave it there and then go back to the stream. For all you people We have one viewer. We were down to 0. Oh, poor Simon. So, yeah, whether or not should he play 24-23? So he's played 6 to 5, thus putting the 4th checker from the 6 onto the 5 point. But well, firstly, you don't really want a checker there. That's the first thought. You prefer it to be there. But is it that much of a degradation in your position? And I think the answer to that question is no. Then you look at how much do you want to play 24-23? Well, you do, because generally you want to split your black men, but then you have to say to yourself, well, how dangerous is it? And there is some danger. Maybe mainly from big doubles like double 4, double 5. But other than that, things like 4-1, 4-2, they're not going to double hit, or other numbers that come to mind. So perhaps, since you're only concerned about a couple of very powerful doubles, then maybe you can afford to play 24-23. So really, what am I not seeing? It seems too dangerous to do it. So there's something I'm not seeing. And just to go back to, like, it's such an imperative really to split. If you can do it without cost, you really want to split, is the first port of call. And the reason why is that you really need to obtain an advanced anchor, and so it should be the thing that you do, subject to whether or not you can get away with it. There is another 4 you could play that with the 1, but then you would be giving a 3, which he doesn't have in any other part of the board, so you're just giving him extra good numbers. I don't know what this one is actually. It's confusing me. I really want to split, but there's something tells me it's dangerous, and I can't work out whether or not it's too dangerous to warrant doing it. Anyway, Matt is thinking of cubing, and I didn't initially see this. I guess one concept which I'm toying with, which I teach, and I shouldn't teach concepts that I toy with, but I think it's fairly sound, although I can't really prove it, that you generally, if your opponent is coming towards a position where he can cube, you generally don't want to make it the position more of a cube for him. Or in other words, if you can do anything which kind of stops him from cubing, then since cubing gives your opponent such a big uplift, that's what you want to do. You want to stop him from cubing, and then therefore probably makes playing 24-23 a bad move, because you're giving your opponent much more of a cubable position. Having said that, without having split, I don't think this is a cube, especially as Matt is 2-1 up. Although I'm not sure. It could well be. Well, now I'm not sure, actually. 3 men back. Something like 4-2 is so powerful, double 2 is so powerful, double 1 is so powerful. Instant take, okay, fine. I mean, it is a take. So all 2s are readily unstacking, and then I tend not to see those 3s to play 8-5 to take a checker from there, but it definitely, as a value, it gives you a 1 to cover. to hit loose on the 4 point. So where are we now? What would we have? Let's just so I remember, we had this 4-1, yeah, where Danny came in on the 4 point and played 6-5, and then Matt thought for a while and cubed and rolled a 3-2. Shall we go back and let's do a little bit of transcription. So look at this 4-1, it's super close. So I wasn't wrong to be confused. And then Matt did double, and looking at the power of the 2s alone and this kind of slightly wimpy board that I'm not sure if you can see my arrows. Yeah, I think you can. Oh. Yeah, so we rack our brains about a move and then we find out that it's kind of even, but we don't know that when we're playing. So Matt doubled. I'm going to say that this is since we can rely on Matt, and it looks like it's a decent double. Okay, it's not.
Okay.
So, is this? And then we have the 3-2, and we don't know how Matt's going to play the 3 yet, but let's have a look. This is really surprising that it's 0.07. Just want to go back to the 5-3 though. The double hit is right by 0.08, but it's just the idea. Okay, let's go back to the stream. Are we having fun or what? So Matt's got a 3 to play. I mean, my instinct would be to play 24-21 like this, but why? Because even though this gives a 1, I don't want to kind of reduce the number of covers that I have generally by putting a checker 1 away from the point I'm trying to cover. So Danny comes in with a 1-5. 5-4 is going to come out and make. It's obvious. 6-1 is going to come to the bar. Yeah. So he's playing fluently now. I mean, it's interesting that there's some sort of sense of fluidity to Danny's game, which he didn't seem to have before. It seems natural to play 16-13, but then again, you can't let him just anchor on the 18 point. Let me just have oh. So Matt's going to roll a 2-1. And since, just having a second look at it, since Danny's got this blotting board, it's not going to be that dangerous to hit, since you can also play 8-7 and then 7-5, leaving only 3-5 and 2-6, and then a bunch of wacky hits that have to break the mid, so that's not going to be too bad for you. But above all, you really need to prevent the guy from making the bar. Having said all that, if you just play safe and he doesn't make the bar, then you've still got your 8 point and you're in good shape. So there's something nice about just playing 16-13, which I can't really put my finger on. Three, 4 comes in. This is one of the wanky hits. It's really dangerous, but he has to do it. And I'm going to have to go soon. 4-2 is a double hit. Okay, so maybe this is a good time to sort of wrap it up, because we're going to assume that Danny doesn't roll a 3 and then Matt covers and whatever. There isn't going to be much of interest to see. So let's just put in a couple more of those moves. He came up, did he not, with the 3-2? Did Danny roll a 1-5? I think he did. I think he did. Matt came out with a 5-4 and Danny rolled a 6-1 and I think played 5-4, and then we had this 2-1. And then the 3-4. And then the 4-2. I think that seems right. And then we're gonna call a halt to this stream here. Before we do, we're just gonna have a little review. So at the moment, Danny playing like a 14, which obviously isn't great. So 6-5 is better on plus by quite a margin, but on 4-ply, the lower level of analysis, there isn't much in it. And so if you'd only reviewed it on 4-ply, you wouldn't really know what the values are here and what you're really trying to do. And now this cube is on plus. I'm guessing that if I click XG roll a double plus, then the mistake will get smaller. And then with the 3, it is right to come up to the 21. And all these plays are kind of forced. And then this is really close. So 16-13 here. This is 4-ply again. Is only a little green jobby, a little bit behind. And then the 3-4 is close. Always seems a bit weird when plays are so close, but it kind of makes sense. And then that was it. That was pretty much it. Just to have a quick scooch back over the first 3 games which we covered. Danny on the bottom, missing a cube, and then hitting on the ace, and then noting, for me anyway, that this is actually a bigger cube because we haven't got a blotting board anymore and we're just attacking. And this is the same deal with why this is a smaller cube, because we've got a blotting board now that we need to cover, which we might not cover. This is something that I just don't get, or didn't get. Then, having not cubed, Danny still needs to play big. Hoping for some sort of number that doesn't come in, and then cubing next go. And this kind of destroyed his position. This is like, the cubes are the cube is like let's kind of compartmentalize it and put that out on its own. But this, of all the checker plays that he made, I think not the 1-3, but this 2-5 just sort of invites, you're kind of destroying your position rather than solidifying it. You're really self-harming with this 2-5, and then the double 1, the hit and the double 1, and then this is like, just, there's nothing going here. And yet somehow he got something going. 3-2 is going to help. So how is it that he's got 2 checkers out of play, and yet I still like to make the bar here. I'm not sure why. 5-3 makes a 3, and it's also the fact that he gets that checker up to the 21. and he rolls a 6 as well. So he's rolling pretty well. That kind of explains it. But then doesn't roll well. Oh, and then Matt rolls. So as soon as, this is the deal, as soon as you roll a high number as the side bearing in, you can just be absolutely screwed. From having such a great game, just one number can crack you. Of course, that can happen for the other side, but the other side is saying, like, I don't care what's right, I'm just gonna, if I lose, I lose, but I'm gonna rely on you cracking. And if you roll a bad number, then I've got a chance. And that can always happen. You're never assured of anything in this kind of double anchor back structure. And Matt had to roll well, and then we had that second game where we had a monster double 4, and then this game, and that's going to be it. The end of my beautiful stream. Okay guys, maybe I'll carry on with that at another time, maybe I won't, I don't know, but thank you for watching and catch you next time.